Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Garage Studio Modelers. I'm Dave Forrest with my good friend
Below.
and in today's episode we'll do a bit of a Q&A. Robert was kind enough to prepare some of the questions that have been left in some of the video comments. So we're just going to go through them and answer them, and whatever discussions come about, they come about. That's how we roll here on Garage Studio Modelers. So the first question is from John Crimmins, and he says, great presentation about different ways to post shade. Harvey did a great job skirting mission model paints. Notice how you don't see many people using them much. Well, let's talk about let's talk about mission model paints.
Dave, you like them.
Well, I did. When they first came out, I was very much against making an investment in another bunch of paints, and then I tried a couple, and I love them. And the reason why I love them is because the color accuracy I found was bang on. I thought they had, especially, I didn't really get too much in the aircraft colors. I was more the armor ones, but I found they were spot on. I like the addition of the polymer additive, the poly additive that kind of helped level it and gave it extra strength.
Is that what it's for?
Yeah. At least as I understood it, and I found that it sprayed a little bit better with it. Their thinning ratios were never right for me. Right, I just figured it out and thinned it.
And what is their thinning ratio?
I don't remember.
You remember?
No,
I've heard a lot of guys.
I barely remember what I had for breakfast.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of guys change it up, and some of it works for them.
Yeah.
Like you, some of it doesn't.
But the and you brought this up because you borrowed some of mine for another project.
Yeah.
They do have a shelf life.
They do.
Not, and the shelf life seems to be shorter than most other paints.
Yes.
For example, I just really love the Tamiya. My favorite is the Tamiya lacquer paints. They stink, but I have a booth. I mask up. I spray them. They work great. They just go on very smoothly. I use the leveling thinner, the Gunzi leveling thinner. I use Tamiya's leveling thinner and the Orange Cap one. They work absolutely fantastic. I like their traditional acrylics range.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Kind
I
of
love them too.
Acrylic lacquers they call them, and the Gunzi paints the same thing. The Mr. Color, the lacquers, and their acrylic lacquers.
Let's not forget AK. I like AK too.
I like AK for brush painting.
Oh really?
Yeah, like the next generation, and there's still some use for the
well, small bottle AK.
Oh yeah.
But they're bottled. The bottle AK.
The bottles,
I like the bottle.
It's okay. The color they have a wide range of colors, which are kind of interesting.
Better than Tamiya, I find though. Their range of colors.
The range of color, yes, is better than Tamiya's, but the quality of the paint, I just find you can't go wrong with the Gunzi and the Tamiya's.
Yeah, that's
they've been around forever, and there's a reason. Right?
And they're coming back with the big bottles. You notice?
I saw it. Yeah,
with the big bottles.
They should never.
Good
gone
move,
away from
Tamiya.
those. Yeah.
Right. Getting back to mission models, John. You mentioned Harvey did a great job skirting mission model paints. You're so correct. On another episode, I'm working on a B-17s, one of these Shelf Queens, 148th B-17D. I'm backdating the monogram kit. That for another episode in the future. And I thought, what better way to apply the finish than to use some of these neat olive drab that I borrowed from you, Dave, mission model paints. And you gave me 4. There's 4 here. You're right. The color range is phenomenal. And I looked at these, and there's like there's an olive drab faded 2. There is a olive drab faded 1. There is a Army olive drab faded 3. And finally the base coat olive drab. And I didn't bring what do you call it? The polymer?
The poly additive. I can't remember exactly.
Something? This is
That's just the thinner. Yeah.
Why didn't I use the polymer? Because I'm using these paints for hairspray technique. Good friend Brian Fowler. Hey, Brian from Florida, and he's associated with IPMS Northeast New York. Shout out to those guys because I love their Zoom calls. He was doing a little presentation on hairspray technique, and he found that these guys they hairspray chip quite differently than Tamiya. We'll do an episode on chipping, so that's why I wanted these. These give more of an effect of a wearing away as opposed to a flaking, which Tamiya paints are best for if you use the hairspray technique. That's why I use them. But then when I used them, they were really gummy. and gunky.
Yeah, that's where
Shelf life.
that's where the shelf life comes in.
Shelf life.
And it's too bad because like Rinaldi was a big proponent of these when they first came out, and I think the fact that they're acrylic based, so they're relatively compared to like the spraying with lacquer thinners, right? It's fairly. It's maybe a less dangerous option to spray. So you have to maybe take less precautions with it, and it's too bad. Like it's really too bad that there's a shelf life to these things.
I know,
and that they gunk up, and the quality isn't quite there. And
if somebody's watching from Mission Models, you might want to look at maybe some formula to make the longevity a little longer. How old were these when you bought them?
They were brand new. Of course, yeah, brand new.
Yeah, I noticed the cap was still on, but they must have been sitting on the shelf for a while.
Well, yeah, because I bought them maybe 5 years ago. 6 years ago, right? So
there you go.
Which is kind of too bad. And the challenge is though is that there's so many options now.
Yes, there are.
So anything that gives anybody, if you have to fight with it, it's not going to. It's not going to do well. It's not going to stay around, really.
I do love the colors. I noticed that some hobby shops they're kind of relegating them to back shelves. Now here's another shout out to Jeff Hearn, who does scale colors. I hope I got that right, Jeff. You sent me a bunch from my Yamato, another episode. You haven't used those. Those are kind of like these. They're very nice, and he's got another great color range. So there's a lot.
What
of
are they? Acrylics?
They are acrylics, and I'll do a separate episode on those. And they're going to be on my Yamato for fine scales. So we'll talk about them in the article. But you're right. Back to these. That's kind of why, John. We kind of skirted them. Unfortunately, got a shelf life. Once they bugger up your airbrush, it gums up. It totally gums up your airbrush. You got to use lacquer thinners too, and you can tell right away as soon as you mix the two. It's gummy. It's very gunky.
Agreed.
So
yeah, I think we've beaten the Mission Models paint puppy to death. So
sorry,
cool. Maybe why don't you go to the next question?
All right, I met an email. I hope you don't mind me using your name here, John Stimmitz. I hope I got that right. I'm looking forward to your discussion on different paint colors and their variations. I don't normally build World War II Japanese tanks, but I bought the AK Gen 3 acrylic Japanese armor colors to hopefully get me started in that direction. Love to hear your opinions on the AK sets. If you've bought and used them, I have. Dave, why don't you start? Because you bought 1 million AK paint sets, have you not?
I have, but I only brush paint them.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't tried spraying them just because the options on the other two, like the Gunzi and the Tamiya, are there for me.
Well, for this one, hand painting may make sense for Japanese armor, right? Because they were very hard edged. Another episode, Japanese armor colors. And so for Gen 3...
you know what? I could never bring myself to hand paint.
An armor? Really?
Yeah.
I couldn't do it on an aircraft, but I can do it on...
Maybe Japanese because of the...
Yeah.
Just like some of the like the black outline camos like the French had, and...
Because don't forget, they were very hard line camouflage on Japanese tanks. It wasn't like blurred. So
I just don't trust myself. You know what I mean? Like
they do brush well.
Yeah.
And the colors are nice.
But yeah, and like for figure painting, for detail, like for painting tools and details on armor.
Yeah.
For like cockpits. Like the colors are.
They're pretty good. I've seen the Japanese armor colors. I can't comment on the other sets. I can comment on the AK. Ones that they do on Japanese cockpits. They do Army and Navy. And I did a whole, if you go online, either on my Facebook or you go on my Instagram, there's a presentation that Santige and I did on Japanese A6M20s. And part of that was I did a whole spread on the different AK paints and the cockpit colors, and I compared them with other brands, and they're pretty good. So just go there rather than summarizing. But yeah, I do like them, and in the future we'll do some more on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good. They're a great option. I haven't gotten around to spraying them, and you have them.
I have. They're not bad.
Yeah.
But like you got
to use their thinner.
You got to use their thinner, and I do admit that I prefer using the Tamiya and AK acrylics for spraying.
Yeah, me too.
But that's
Anyways. I agree. Okay. Next question is from James K. Nice job, guys.
Thank you.
Would you consider using Mr. Surfacer leveling thinner for a nicer finish?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty much all I use. Like I brush my teeth with that stuff in the morning. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, it's really.
I use it mostly in aircraft. I don't do it as much in my armor.
I use it on
everything.
Yeah, it's like Frank's hot sauce. I use that. I use that stuff on everything. It's amazing. Yeah, it's quite, yeah. It's
You know what I used it for last night, huh? I used not the leveling thinner. I used the rapid thinner. It's got a red label. Okay, Mr. Color Rapid Thinner, and I used it with the Mr. Color Silver. Those little range of new silver colors with Mr. Color. And I used the rapid thinner because I wanted it to dry quite.
That's a great point.
Right?
Yes, great point. Yeah, you do, because you don't want the flakes to settle.
Don't want flakes to settle.
Yeah.
And I'm using it on a Tony.
But aside from doing the specialized metallized paints.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Mr. Leveling Thinner is perfect.
Mr. Leveling Thinner is and it works on the acrylic
It does.
range.
Tamiya,
it works on the lacquer.
great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
AK,
Yeah.
Have you tried it with AK?
Yeah, that's what
It's good too.
well, I haven't tried it on the next gen AK.
Okay.
I've tried it with their bottle stuff. It works the same that's the go-to thing. And I've also used it to thin Vallejo paints, like the latex
in the
acrylic.
tiny tube?
Yeah,
Really?
it's the only thing that I can manage to spray that with.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I learned something.
Yeah.
We don't rehearse this. I learned something.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's James, it's great stuff.
It is great stuff, and then now I think it's readily available in North America.
Yeah,
it is in Canada.
It kind of goes back and forth in terms of what's available and what's not. But I have like 4 big bottles of it in my store.
Just a little hint, guys. When you go buy Mr. Leveling Thinner, it's got different numbers on it. That has nothing to do with the thinner. It has to do with the size of the bottle. So.
The 400 versus
right,
the
400
1500,
versus
whatever it is.
It's the size of the bottle.
Yeah,
The
not like their primers.
They're not like their primers.
Yeah. So another part of the question says, also, can you tell me the website you mentioned in episode 2 of the 3D printed trucks? Thanks, catch you guys next week. Yeah, so the 3D printed, the workable ones are from a company called Minor, Minor. I think it's Minor Miniatures, I think, if memory serves. But if you go to a site like B&A Models out of Australia, and you just select minor models from a vendor standpoint, you can see everything they have.
You go through B&A.
Yeah, that's where I got them. Right,
and they're workable.
Yeah, they
have pins.
So they come. I was better prepared. I might have brought stuff with me to show, but so they come with 2 lengths of tracks that are completely workable. So I guess they print them in such a way that the pins are already kind of in, and then they give you and these are for 251 tracks. So you know how you have the pads,
yes,
251s.
Yes.
So they give you an extra pad, and then what you do is you kind of bring it and use the pad to kind of close the window.
Yeah.
But they're fantastic. Like that's and I think I saw something from MIG Ammo where they were printing 72nd scale, like Tiger Tracks, King Tiger Tracks.
Really?
That I thought might be the same type of thing. I don't. It's hard to tell. I think they come already assembled and workable.
There are quite a few 3D.
Yeah. 3D printing
it's come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another episode. I bought a 3D printer machine, and we'll talk about that some other time. Another company I just ordered a couple of sets from, Chino Models. Shout out to those guys. They're really. I don't work for them, but I bought stuff from them. I think they're pretty brand new, and they're out in Asia, and they really do some nice 3D tracks. If you ever want to go, just
like
look
separate Lincoln Link.
Yes, separate.
Yeah, so you got to put them together.
Yep, you got to put them together. But for the Japanese armor aficionado, they make the only 3D tracks for that Type 92. They call it an armored car. I call it a tankette. That Pit Road 135th Type 92. The tracks in that kit are rubber. They're horrible and they're too short. So Chino makes finally some resin tracks for that tank. So that's another manufacturer. There you go on the 3D printed tracks. Yeah. All right, the next one, Jim Deck. It's never crossed my mind to paint the turret in white and hold them black. That's what I'm doing on my Sheridan. I kind of experiment all the time. I don't know about you, Dave, but you get different effects. And I thought, well, if I paint the turret in white, it's a little more cleaner, it's a little more bright. That was my rationale. Whether it works out or not, because as of this episode, I haven't finished it yet. But that's the reason why you want to change up modulation. You don't have to stick to one formula, right? When you modulate, do you add any vibrant colors to the undercolor? I do. Do
like the primer?
Yeah, like no. So it's like you just use the dark green, the mid.
Yeah, I'll usually either paint it black or dark brown.
Okay.
So I'll use like a mix of the Mr. Surfacer black and the Mr. Surfacer mahogany to get a dark brown. So I'll do that for like the German yellow paints, and then like for just about everything on like the Panzer Gray, the Forbio green, or the olive drab, like the black. But yeah, I don't do what you did in terms of modulate
different colors, yellows, reds.
No, but I see
Ronaldo does that.
Does he? Yeah, I've seen some of the aircraft modelers do that, where they do a black base and they'll kind of work other colors into that. I haven't seen it on armor.
Yep, it does.
But I guess it's worth a try. Like it's a different means to get to the same thing.
It is.
Whether you're doing you're doing it on the actual base color, maybe you're doing it through a filter. It's another option, right?
It does add a subtlety of colors underneath. So another model I'm working on with modulation is a Blenheim, and I'm using different yellows and reds underneath, and you can see them come through. But it becomes a tricky part when you know when not to overdo it so that you lose it all. But yeah, you can experiment and use different types of base colors. Doesn't have to be black. Could be white. Could be another color. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I think I would encourage people to try different things. Yep. Like to go out of your comfort zone, try different things. You can always repaint it, right, if you have to.
All right, next.
This is from. There's two questions from Robert Graham. I'll take the first one. How many layers are you putting on?
Any model, like for modulation?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It is. It is.
I think so. Let me give my view on that.
Okay.
And you can do yours, right? So I'll put one layer, like a good layer of primer, like a bit, almost like a wet layer of primer. It comes back, and then in terms of the modulation colors, I usually work maybe about 3 different colors.
Me too.
Right, usually. Yeah. But in terms of how many layers are you putting on, like paint? I don't know. I kind of do it in the moment, and you kind of build up, and it dries, and you spray over it. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of hard to. So in terms of the number of colors, there's like 3 different colors
for modulation.
I guess you could call them layers.
Yeah.
But in terms of like within each? Like I spray, like it's a little bit translucent, and you just kind of build it up until you get the opacity that you're looking for, right? So it's a very organic process.
That's a good phrase for organic. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
If you want to apply a number, I might go 2 or 3 light layers if I'm doing modulation, especially if you're doing like the modulation with either black basing or whatever. Yeah. I still go light. I don't do it all at once because then you're just covering everything. You're just layering on. Three layers.
Yeah, until it looks right.
Until it looks right. Yeah. The trick is not to overcover the modulation. That's why you have to go translucent. That's why you have to go.
And you have to build it up, and you have to get that stark, because the subsequent weathering and that takes it back, right?
Yep.
We talked about that.
Yep. The second part of the question is, Robert asks, Harvey, how do you deal with Tamiya XF2 shattering? I don't quite know what you mean by that. Maybe it has to do with how it's a very vibrant color. I'm not so sure. I've never had any problems with Tamiya XF2.
No,
it's the white.
Neither have I.
I haven't had problems with thin it with leveling thinner, its own thinner, the orange cap with retarder. I haven't had problems with it. I don't use it a lot on large scale aircraft.
And I'm not sure what Robert means by shattering.
Yeah.
Like, does it the paint cracking?
No, I've never had that.
I mean, if you do it in thin enough layers.
Yep.
I can see it if you put it on the big thick layer, it might.
I have heard that applying Tamiya paints and then applying like a gloss spray over them, they kind of crack. I've heard that, like with a spray can. I've heard that, if they don't have time to dry.
Yeah.
But as a color itself, I like it. I don't use it normally for large scale markings, though.
Yes, but I
use off-white.
Exactly. Yeah, I never use it natively.
No.
Right, because because it's very bright.
It's very bright.
And so I'll use the off-whites.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, next one.
So this is from Steve Ankin. Glad to see you guys are posting again. Great stuff. Dave Forstino, how Dave Brown is doing. Loved your old videos together. Yeah, well, Dave's retired, so he's moved. He's outside of Toronto, and he's moved up to
Southampton.
That's
a good 3 hours.
Yeah, it's about a 3-hour drive. It's on Lake Huron, so he's got a great great place up there, and he's he's with Trish.
He comes into town once in a while.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
he said he would come back to do.
Yeah, so we've been trying to get him to come on. Well, we've been working together to try and get him to come on and do an episode. Like he's done recently, he's done a bunch of Shermans and he's done some groundwork with them, and they're stunning.
Yeah,
Absolutely stunning.
we keep in touch.
So he's still active. Just we haven't schedules haven't lined up. But we definitely would love to get him to come on, maybe in the spring.
Yep.
To come here and do a few. We'll probably tape a whole bunch of episodes, and we'll kind of half hour at a time we'll release them. But
So
he's still active, still doing.
Yeah, we still see him at the show. We're going to see him at Heritage Con.
Yeah, he'll be at Hamilton most likely.
Right.
So
Mrs. Store, right?
Yeah, I miss my
and doing the
office.
videos in his basement. So we had all those special guests. Mike Rinaldi came on, right?
Yeah,
Way back when Chef Kane came on.
Don't get me started on
Yeah,
the store.
really.
I miss that store.
So it's
Horner
really,
Hobbies was amazing. Yeah, it was Saturday mornings at Horner Hobbies.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
That was the like, yeah.
Okay.
All right, next question.
So the Sheridan. I'm doing these series of Sheridan episodes, and Richard Craig asks, I start in terms of, I presume it's about primers. I start black, but instead of white, I start with my base color and then go back over it, lightening my base color at least 3 times. So there you go, 3 layers. Hitting smaller and smaller areas with each lightened color. Yeah,
Yeah, that works.
absolutely. That works. There's no formula.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way.
No.
Just whatever gets you
That
to
works,
something
Richard.
that looks good. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. All right.
Next question is from Will Thorson. I use automotive primer. Look for the hybrid type ones, kind of like acrylic lacquer. I've used a primer red that's real close to German primers, also black. It's thin, kind of runny. Freaked me out the first time I used that. Came back an hour later and it looked fantastic. Yeah, I think his comments there are about kind of spraying it on wet and it kind of looks horrible.
Yeah.
But it sucks down and it shrinks down and I think that's the. I'm not a big fan of using kind of the acrylic primers that you get from like a Vallejo but because when I spray them, they would kind of go on really pebbly, and I just hated it.
Yeah.
But I think the secret is you got to spray it on wet because for that exact reason it kind of shrinks down.
You do.
But I stick with the Mr. Surfacer stuff.
I do too.
thin it. I sprayed out of an airbrush. I know you like using the spray can.
Yeah.
And
Tamiya's good. The fine white, great.
yeah, but I just can't. I just find you have a lot more control over your brush. I just can't.
Spraying out of a can, though, it takes a bit of.
Yeah.
You got to do short.
And there's a convenience to it. Like you just spray it. You don't have to clean the airbrush out. You don't have to, right?
It's true.
So, and then there's a little bit more here. So, and then the next thing is, are you sure? Are you sure that's modulation? I thought modulation is where you have a base color on and you shadow and highlight that color. Maybe I'm just an idiot. LOL. No, you're not an idiot.
No.
Not at all.
No.
I think we were talking a little bit about it in one of the previous questions about using what you did is you manipulated the primer color before you actually got the with white or and you were talking about some of the different colors, like maybe putting yellow or blue or whatever. I think it's a means to an end.
It is.
The end is modulating and getting some variation and some depth and tone. How you get there, that's totally up to you.
But you're right. Primer by itself as a straight color is not modulation.
No.
It's what you do after
the
primer. Generally, the primer is the first coat. It gives you that teeth for the paint to stick to. And as we were talking before, I prefer...
more functional.
Yeah, it is. I prefer lacquer and enamel primers. I don't like acrylic primers. I just want something to bite into the plastic. After that, it's modulation, how you want to play with the base.
Yeah. So there's different ways to skin that cat, as it were.
Okay. So the next question is Jonathan Anderson. In my opinion, applying color modulation to automotive pieces would make it look less real and more like a toy. I don't think people realize how difficult and time-consuming it can be to get a proper mirror gloss finish, no dust junk on the paint, proper progression, wet sanding, polishing, uniform color, with no tiger striping, just an infuse. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Jonathan.
Automotive finish is like an art form.
Oh yeah. Oh totally. I totally agree. I mean, we could just talk about it, but you're right. There's some skills to modeling. Modeling hairspraying and chipping, getting a nice semi-gloss finish on aircraft, and cars and gloss. Like, it's not easy.
No, it is a skill unto itself.
And I agree. Why would you modulate a car? I totally agree. It would kind of look weird. right? I think
Yes.
you're putting little dark areas around the trunk edges. I agree. It just kind of looks fun.
Yeah.
So I totally agree.
But the modulation is more for like a weathered look.
Yeah,
And
I think
typically,
so.
if you're doing like an F1 car or typically you want to see it,
Yeah, clean.
and it's a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Typically, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. It doesn't.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I totally agree. It doesn't work.
I can't do it. I
gloss.
I want to try. I'd love to get good at it. But it's
We'll do another episode on gloss.
yeah, we should. Yeah,
And-
the closest thing
yeah.
I did was like a Bandai Stormtrooper figure.
Oh right, yeah, that was
Right.
lovely. We should bring it on.
Yeah, but that was the closest thing I did to gloss.
Yeah, he's got
and
a
that was-
helmet too.
I do.
He's got an actual helmet.
Big thing. I love it. Anyway.
Well, the other thing too, with just not to belabor this point, but Jonathan makes a good point because how can you modulate something like an F1 car when you've got those, the decals in different colors? It would kind of look weird,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
Right?
Totally.
Like Villeneuve's car with the red
Yeah,
one, and
yeah.
it's like, what is it, the 126C1 or whatever?
it would look
It
off.
would look weird.
Yeah.
You're-
Just goes to show that every, whether it's aircraft or ships or armor or automotive,
Yeah.
there's different skills and disciplines.
I think so.
And that's why I think jumping around from one genre to the other
Yep.
makes you a better model. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Rick Dizabato. I hope I'm saying that right. Awesome video. With the 3D printing, is there any problems in entering contests? There's only so much that you can scratch build, mainly small parts, for example, ramp hinges on armor model. Dave or Harvey, have anyone ordered from Shapeway in the US? They have some great prices. Love the videos. So 3D printing, yeah, that's yeah. So no issues entering, especially if
No.
you're just using it. Like it's not a fully printed 3D model.
That's different.
That's different. So I think they're trying to figure out how to deal with that coming
They are.
tsunami.
They
Right?
are. They
I know,
are.
and they're probably going to have different categories for it. I
Yes.
think.
Yes. Now,
But if you're just detailing, if you're just detailing it up, like
No problem.
Yeah, no problem.
hinges here. Who
Yeah,
cares?
just like resin pieces before, right?
But 3D printing is, I think, the issue now. And again, a whole new episode we've talked about this. 3D printing at contests now is getting a relook, especially if you are designing it off of a computer with CAD and doing your own design and then sending it to a 3D printer. Is it scratch built? I'm talking
Yeah.
about the whole model.
Yeah,
That's
a good-
new territory.
It is. Yeah.
That's
So
new
I
territory.
imagine that they'll come up with different categories. For
I think
that.
they will.
Yeah, but
Because-
I haven't seen that yet.
No, I think the Nats have entertained the IPMS USA Nationals have entertained that. I haven't looked at the recent site.
Because they have the same thing for paper models, don't they?
Yeah, there's a separate category for paper models.
Which I think makes sense.
But I think with the 3D printing, it's trickier because you're not scratch building it with your hand, you're designing it on a computer system.
Yeah.
Right? Is that scratch building? Well, it is scratch designing. Is that a new word? Scratch designing? I don't know. Jury's out.
And it depends if you're doing it yourself or if you're, using a 3D printed model from somebody
Else, and then you have to say it's theirs. How can you prove it's not yours? I mean,
But
it's
is it scratch built? Is it not scratch built?
scratch designed.
Scratch designed. I guess
Right.
you have to do it. If it's scratch
Yeah.
built, you're the one doing it, right?
Yeah, I'm playing around with the software now to
It's a great
create.
question, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
doing
it's a
a
great
scratch-built Roki Japanese artillery tractor. So I'm using scratch building styrene, and then parts I'm going to 3D design it. So is that
Yeah.
scratch building? It's not scratch building. It's scratch designing. All right.
And then, sorry, there was another question on Shapeway in the US.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, in the not too distant past, but before 3D printed stuff was readily available.
Yeah.
I did order from Shapeways, no issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I look back at that
Yeah.
stuff that I bought
Mm-hmm.
compared to what's available now, and it's not as fine.
True.
So it's but I'm guessing, but I haven't ordered in like 5 plus years. So
I
6
ordered
years.
about a year ago. Now what happened? That's a good point. See, we're doing this organically. Isn't that the word used before? Organic discussion. The last time I ordered, you have a choice of picking an option of fine resin, and you pay a little bit more, so you don't have the lines that you would get from one of those 3D fiber type printers.
That's old tech. That's old.
It is
technology.
getting the old technology. Resin 3D printing is where it's at.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have that issue, but now I think I ordered a pair of funnels for 1,350 ship, and they were really beautiful. So the technology is
Yeah, I think it's getting better. Yeah. So I don't think.
no problems ordering from Shapeways.
Yeah. They're pretty easy to do with those. They were when I did it.
All right. What is the... Oh, we talked about the 3D tracks already. Steve Enkin, glad to see you guys are posting again. Great stuff, Dave Forrest. Oh, that's the Dave Brown question. Sorry, you can tell we're not having a script here. Modulation, I don't think works with high gloss paints. What do you think? That's by Slick Glenn?
Slick Glenn? Slick Gillen? I don't know.
I've never tried it.
No, I've never tried it either, but it could work.
I would see why not. I don't know why you
I don't know if I would leave it.
Yeah.
It depends, I guess, what you're doing. It could.
I just find flats are a little more forgiving than using high gloss paints.
Yeah.
But
It's
I haven't tried it.
Yeah, I haven't tried it. I couldn't really comment on it. I imagine it would. It's color. Modulation is color, variation of color.
yeah, you could use like a Mr. Color gloss paint and then just, but I find with the gloss paints you don't have the range of color
Yeah.
that you do with flats if you're doing military.
Yeah, military subjects. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Brett G. Preach it, fellas. I'm with you guys on color accuracy. I like to get as close as I can, but any more close is good enough. Yeah, that's true. Especially since most of us dirty up our kits with
Totally.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
I think,
oh, yeah.
Again, I used to obsess over color accuracy.
Yep.
But now I'm a lot less fussy about it for all of those reasons, right? You're weathering it. There's
Sun bleach.
There's
Dirt.
different variations in the stock of the paint, like the quality control. Like 4BO is notorious. Olive drab is notorious. Different color. Like, so I think close enough is good enough.
I would even say, maybe somebody could comment, I think the old discussions of FS colors are not as prevalent as they used to be. It's got to be FS da-da-da-da-da. I think people are now going within a range. I like the word range
Yes.
that Brett uses.
Yes.
It's in the range.
Yeah.
Right?
It's in the sensible,
I think so.
right? Yeah, I agree.
Now, the last one is, actually, we're not going to go through this whole question, but there's a lot of good stuff here from Will Forson, who was a former crew member on a Sheridan tank. Thank you, Will, for all this wonderful information, because it's really going to help me.
Yeah, lots of great detail in here.
A lot of great detail. All I can say is, although it appears long, keep sending them, because there's a lot of neat stuff in here from a veteran and a guy who's like he's telling you where it weathered and all that. You guys can read his comments, but I just want to say thank you because he took time to write this out in respect to veterans, and so I'm going to use a lot of this, Will. So thank you for writing it in.
Perfect.
Right.
Wonderful. Well, that's it for the Q&A. I guess we'll do this from time to time.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll go back and add some of the details. I'll find the name of that. I think it's Minor Miniatures.
Okay.
And then I'll put the name of the link in the comments for the two downloads.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And as a wrap up, we do read all the comments. Sometimes we can comment where we can, but we do read them all, and we thank you for
Yeah, we appreciate all the support that everybody gives us and all the good comments and well wishes. So it means a lot. Keeps us going. For
keeps
sure.
us going. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Well, until the next time. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.